coming together. They want real change. We're going to bring it to them. Yeah! Thank you so much, Connie Mack. I do need him as a U.S. Senator to help me in Washington, and we're going to get that job done. We're counting on you, Florida, to get him elected. And, thank you also for Adam Putnam, who's as you know, the person who's Commissioner of Agriculture. He's been my chairman here in the state. Thank you for being here. I want to thank also Speaker Designate Will Weatherford. I know he's here. Local boy, went to school here. Congressman Bill Ruckus, thank you for being here. Congressman Nugent, thank you for your help. And I'll tell you, it's great to be on the field of the Land O'Lakes Fighting Gators. Now, Connie Mack just told you that early voting begins. So we need you to vote. In my state, you'd say vote early and often. But here it's just vote early. Get the job done. We want to make sure that you get a chance not just to vote, but also to help other people vote, so that on Election Day we can have every vote we need to make sure Florida is in our column. And we win Florida, we're going on to win the White House. All across America, people are paying very close attention to this race. They know that big things are at stake. We have big opportunities as a nation. We have big challenges. They want big change. They recognize the significance of this election and this campaign. Interestingly, given the scale of things that are happening in the country and around the world, it's been interesting to watch the president, whose campaign seems to get smaller and smaller. Amazed by the greatness of the times. The president is talking about characters on Sesame Street. He's playing silly word games, attacking me day in and day out, even though the attacks he knows are not true.
That's right. He's a liar.
This is a president who's not standing up to the scale of the times. And the American people recognize that we need to have somebody that'll get this country on track, and I will with you. What's at stake is too important for smallness. What's important is your family. I hope you understand the significance of this election for your kids, for yourself, for the seniors that you care for. I don't know how many seniors are in the audience this evening, but if you're a senior and or perhaps you're caring for a senior and you happen to get sick and you need to see a specialist, if Obamacare gets installed and you call the specialist office to get an appointment, the receptionist is likely to tell you that the doctor isn't taking any more Medicare patients. Because under Obamacare, about half of America's doctors are saying they won't take more Medicare patients. So at a time in your life when health care means more to you than ever before in your life, the president has cut Medicare $716 billion to pay for his Obamacare. And this I can tell you, when Paul Ryan and I are elected, we're going to restore those dollars to Medicare and honor the president. And if you're a college kid, if you're planning on being a college student, few of those here this evening. Well, when you graduate from college, there'll be a big difference if I'm elected as opposed to the president being elected, because if I'm elected, when you graduate, you'll be able to get a job. Yeah! And there's another difference. When you graduate, most likely you'll have $10,000 or $20,000 worth of student loans, and you're going to have to pay the interest on that and pay back the principal. It'll take a long time.
20 years.
But also because the president has been spending about $1 trillion more every year in this country than we're taking in. He's putting debt on you that you don't even know about. Each man, woman, and child in this country has about $50,000 worth of government debt. So when you come out of college and you get your first job and you look at your first pay stub, you'll see money going to the government to pay for interest on that debt. And if he's reelected, he's going to add another $1 trillion every year. When I'm elected, we're finally going to cut federal spending. We're going to cap it.
Yes!
And we're doing that for your generation, for the college kids. You see, for those of us that are older, why, we can just keep on borrowing and borrowing and push off on the debts to you. But we want to leave you a nation that's prosperous and free with great opportunities for you. We want you to enjoy the American dream. I don't understand sometimes how any college kid can vote for a Democrat that wants to spend more money.
Come on!
They need to vote for us because we want to protect the American dream for the next generation and for the one beyond that.
Yes!
You know, for kids across the country, you know, at the Obama rallies, they chant 4 more years. I think our chant ought to be 10 more days, don't you think?
10 more days! 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 10 more days!
Now, let's say you've got kids at home, and you're thinking about their education. You wonder whether they're going to get the kind of skills they need for the jobs of tomorrow. And if you're in a state that doesn't have the kind of school opportunities you have here in Florida, why, if you have got a school that's not doing so well, you're going to have to just stay in that school. Because the president and his party gets the largest campaign contributions from the teachers union. The teachers union doesn't like school choice. Under my plan, the federal dollars that go to schools are instead going to be attached to the student, so the parents of that student can decide where that kid's going to school.
Yeah! Woo!
I want every parent to have the choice of the school their child will go to. And so, if we want to get education to be superb and leading in the world once again, we're going to have to put the kids first, the parents first, the teachers first, and the teachers union's going to have to go behind.
Yes!
Now, there's at least another way in which this election matters for your family, and that's if you're in your 40s or 50s, the prime earning years of your career, you expect to be putting away a little extra money for retirement or perhaps to help your kids in college. Yeah, I heard someone up here say, yeah, right. I was on the phone with a guy from Waukesha, Wisconsin, just the other day. Wow, there's someone from Wisconsin back there. And he said he used to be earning $25 an hour plus benefits. Now he's only able to get $8 an hour and no benefits. So he shows up as being employed. And this is a guy who's having a hard time making ends meet. There are a lot of people across this country who are having hard times under the Obama economy. There's some numbers you're not hearing from the president these days. One is 23 million. 23 million Americans out of work are looking for a good job. You don't hear the number 47 either. 47 million people on food stamps. That's 15 million more than when he became president. You don't hear the number 2 these days. That's the growth rate of our economy. The president said it was going to be 4.3% right now. It's growing at less than half the rate he predicted. Because of that, you're not seeing the job creation we need for 40 and 50-year-olds, for kids coming out of college. You're not seeing the rising incomes. When Paul Ryan and I get elected, we're going to get this economy going for the American people. We're going to have to change that chant tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, the president likes to
We can do the math.
say how tough things were that he inherited. How he inherited a tough economy. And it was a tough economy. But he doesn't mention the fact that he also inherited the greatest country in the history of the earth. He also inherited the most productive workforce in the history of the earth, and a nation that's the most innovative any nation on earth. He didn't mention that he inherited the biggest economy in the world. His problems are not so much that he inherited a tough economy, as that the things he did made it harder for the economy to kick into gear and put people back to work. His Obamacare, his Dodd-Frank, his regulations, his taxing plans, all these things make it harder for the economy. And that's why we're going to have in November not just a little change, but a big change. He's asked what he's going to do to get this economy going. We've now had 4 presidential, 1 vice presidential. Have you heard him lay out a plan yet as to what he's going to do? He wants 4 more years, but he's got no agenda. Paul Ryan and I have a plan, 5 key steps that are going to get this economy going and create 12 million jobs and rising take-home pay. Those 5 steps, number 1, we're going to take full advantage of our oil.
That's right.
We have here, we not only create a lot of energy jobs, but a lot of jobs in manufacturing, because manufacturing uses a lot of energy. When energy is plentiful and inexpensive, jobs will come back here. This helps put Americans to work. I know it makes it less expensive to put gasoline in your car. I guess you don't have to heat your homes. So it's good if you're spending money on energy, but it's also good if you want a good job. So we're going to make sure that within 8 years, North America is energy independent. We're going to open up more trade, particularly in Latin America, because we're a competitive nation. We can compete with anybody in the world. If we open up more trade in Latin America, you're going to see us selling more goods and services there. It's a natural for us. We have language skills, and time zone is in the right way for us. And so we're going to open up more trade. But if nations cheat on trade the way China has been cheating over the last decades, that we got to stop, and I will. As I mentioned, number 4, we're going to get us to a balanced budget. Let me just mention something about the budget. You might think, what's that got to do with jobs? And the reason it has so much to do with jobs is that if you're a young entrepreneur thinking about taking your life savings and your parents' savings to start a business, or if you're a big corporation thinking about where to build a factory to hire more people, if you think America's on the track to become like Greece, you're not likely to put that investment in America. So we're going to have to let the world know we're serious about this. We're going to stop spending more than we take in. We're not going to do that overnight, but we're going to do the work necessary to get us on the track to show the world we're not going to become Greece or Italy or Spain or anyone else. America's going to remain a stable, solid. We're going to champion small business. We're going to small business is where 2/3 of the jobs in America are created. Think of that. Small business. And yet the president's policies have made it harder for small business. That's why we're at a 30-year low in new business startups under this president. I want to make it easier for new businesses to get going and to grow and to hire more people and to pay more wages. And how do you do that? Well, I was with a guy in St. Louis just a few months ago, and he has 4 employees in a small electronics business. And he and his son calculated how much they pay in taxes. It was kind of a surprise to me. This isn't some big corporation, it's a small business. They looked at their income tax, and their payroll tax, and their sales tax, and their gas tax, and their real estate tax, and their state income tax. You don't have one of those. Added all that up, and it came to over 50% of what their business was making.
That's crazy.
I mean, think about that. That says you take your risk in starting a small business and hiring people, and if you're one of the very few lucky ones where the business actually succeeds, the government wants to take half what you make. So it makes it harder for people to make that choice. What's the president's plan? He's going to raise the tax on small business. My view is simple. Keep the taxes down, bring a cut to small business, bring a cut to middle-income families, help people keep more of their money. Regulators. You know, you need to have regulations to make a business work. You just can't have people going off and starting a bank in their garage. You know, you got to make sure there's some regulators and laws. But the regulators have to see business as good guys. Too often they see business as the bad guys. But we need regulators to say, how can we help you? How can we make your business more successful? And then, of course, there's this big cloud hanging over small business right now. It's Obamacare. We're going to repeal it and replace it with real reforms. Look, this is
We built it!
job we've got. It's a big job. It's going to take a lot of work, but you know what? It can't be done by one person or even by one party. For us to get America on the right track is going to take us reaching across the aisle.
Yes.
The president said he was going to do that. He did not. His is the most partisan presidency I can remember in modern times.
Yep.
I have learned what it's like to reach across the aisle. I had the experience of being elected governor in a state where there are a few Democrats. My legislature was 85% Democrat. And you know what? There were a lot of good guys in that group, and gals. And I was able to make relationships of respect and trust with them. I came into office and we had a multi-billion-dollar budget gap. I want to know how we're going to possibly solve that. We did it together. We worked together. We cut spending. We didn't just slow down the rate of growth. We actually brought it down. And then we did some other things. We cut taxes 19 times. And we made our business as business-friendly as we possibly could. And as a result, we were able to move up in terms of our job creation relative to other states. We were also able to replace a $3 billion budget gap with a $2 billion rainy day fund. These are the kinds of things you can do if you're willing to reach across the aisle and not worry about who gets the credit. When I become president. Regularly with Democrat leaders and Republican leaders, talk about our challenges, look for places there's common ground, because it's just too critical for us to keep going down the same path. The president has no plan for the future. He has no agenda. He has no way to put Americans back to work. Paul, Ron, and I do. We want to work with good Democrats who recognize how important this is, who recognize that the American people are struggling and suffering right now, and they're willing to put the interests of the people ahead of the politicians. They'll do it, I'll do it, we'll do it together and accomplish it. Now, the president said something the other day you may have heard. He said you can't change Washington from the inside. He said you can only change it from the outside. We're going to give him that chance soon. And that's about to happen. I'm confident in the future of this country.
Me too!
I have the confidence because I've seen the people of America all my life. The entrepreneurial spirit that we have. The can-do attitude. Patriotism. We're a people who are given to apply ourselves and sacrifice the things that are bigger than ourselves. We love this country. We sacrifice for America. Remember some time ago I was a scout leader in the Boy Scouts of America. We got some scouters here, I can tell. And we were in a court of honor Court of Honors where you give out the Eagle Scout awards or other awards for the kids, and I was at the end of a big Formica table, American flag next to me, and the Scoutmaster who was at the podium, he was from Monument, Colorado.
Hey! All right, Colorado.
The funny thing about Florida.
That's right.
So he was telling the story about a scout troop. They wanted to have a special American flag, so they bought one. It was surrounded by gold tassels. And he said they sent it off to the Capitol to be flown above the Capitol dome. Then it came back home, and they called NASA and said, we'd like you to take our flag on a shuttle. And NASA said, okay, even though space was at a premium in space, they said, we'll put it on the shuttle, next shuttle flight. He said you can imagine how proud the boys were to be in their home rooms at school, looking on the TV set, telling their friends, hey, our flag is on that shuttle. They saw the rocket go up, the Challenger rocket, and then they saw it explode in the air before their eyes. And he said he called NASA a couple of weeks later and said, have you found any remnant of our flag? And NASA said no. He called every week, week after week after week for months. And finally he gave up. And then he was reading in the paper one day a story about the debris that had been recovered from the Challenger disaster. And there was a mention of a flag. So he called NASA and said, have you found our flag? And they said, as a matter of fact, we have a presentation to make to your boys. And so they came to the boys and presented them with a plastic box. And they opened it up, and he said, inside was our flag in perfect condition. That's it in the flagpole next to Mr. Romney at the end of the table. And so I reached over and grabbed it, and it was as if electricity was running through my arm.
Yeah.
I thought of those NASA patriots. The fact that they were willing to go in harm's way for learning, for pioneering, for us, for their fellow citizens. I think of those great patriots who serve our country, who are willing to walk in harm's way. In Ohio. And there was a gentleman, he was standing right about here. He had a cap. It said World War II veteran. And I said that I didn't know him, but that I knew him. I know members of the greatest generation. I know what they sacrificed for us.
Amen.
They gave us the most prosperous nation in the history of the earth. They stopped unspeakable darkness from the earth. And they epitomize, in my view, this American character of living for something bigger than yourself. They live for us and for our generation. We do that in other ways in our lives as Americans. I've got a wonderful sister. She's in her 70s. She has 8 children. The first 7 are all married with children. The 8th, Jeffrey, is about 43 and Down syndrome. And Lynn devotes her life to caring for Jeffrey. Her husband has passed away, but she cares for Jeffrey every single day and makes sure he has a full and complete life to the extent humanly possible. She's a hero to me. All the single moms in this country who are scrimping and saving to make sure they have the kind of money to put a good meal on the table at the end of the day for their kids. I think of the dads and the moms, by the way, that have 2 jobs. 2 jobs to be able to pay for clothing for their kids so they don't stand out and look different at school. Think of all the couples this year that won't be sharing Christmas gifts so they can have plenty for their kids to have a great Christmas. It's the American way to live for something bigger than ourselves. So I'm convinced that this is critical time. The American people have very clear eyes.
Yes.
They can see the truth. They know what America needs. We have full hearts because we as the American people love our families, love our country, love our faith. Clear eyes, full hearts. We can't lose. America is going to win. We're going to make a choice for November. I need you to vote. I need you to get out and vote. We're going to make sure that we win this one. It counts. It counts for America. It counts for your families.